Hi everyone, my name is Alex and I am an immigration attorney at Murray Osorio. In this video, we're going to talk about a very common subject, asylum. Asylum is a very complicated subject, so there will be many videos on asylum, but in this particular video, I want to go through the form and explain how to prepare and how to file the asylum application. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say that asylum applications are a very, very important part of the asylum process. And I absolutely do not recommend that anyone file an asylum application without consulting an attorney, only because while asylum has a very specific definition, and it's very important to kind of understand all of the elements of asylum, if you're eligible for asylum, how to best explain your eligibility for asylum, not just your fear of returning to your home country. Because it's not just, it is for people who are afraid to return, but for a specific reason. And you definitely want to have an attorney help you craft that application. But certainly you might want to have a look at the application and become familiar with it and understand where to file it. And if you must file it yourself, you're absolutely entitled to. And so we're going to go through that application together today, and I'll give you some tips. The one first really important tip is that there are exceptions to this rule, but you typically must file an asylum application within your first year of being in the United States. So make sure that you do that. If you're here and you almost have a year, consult with an attorney or thinking about filing your asylum application. Okay, so where do you even find an asylum application? Let me share my screen with you and I'll show you where that is. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. And here I am, I'm at the USCIS website. That's uscis.gov. And at the top I go, and this is where you can find like most immigration forms. So you go to forms, and then you click on, you can go to all forms there. And then it's going to be all the different forms that there are. Okay, so I'm going to search for the asylum application. That is called an I-589. That's the number. So here I have found it here. I'm clicking on it. And there's some warnings and just some tips about filing and all that. And then you're going to go here for the actual form. Okay. And there's also an instruction page. So you pop. So here is the form. Okay. And so we're going to go through the form. And then after we go through the actual form, I'll explain to you what else you must submit with the application and where to file the application. You can either file it by mail or you can actually file it online. So you can check this box if you want to apply for withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture. It's a little bit of a different application. I always check that box. Not really relevant for an affirmative asylum process, but there it is. So here, and you might have an alien registration number. Now, this is important. If you've been in proceedings before, or you have another application like TPS or something like that, then you might have an alien registration number and you would put it there. Everything else is just like your biographical information. Make sure you enter everything correctly. This asks for dates of entry. So if you've been multiple times, you want to list every single time. If you need an addendum, you attach an addendum. Okay. This is about your spouse. If you're not married, now applications can be rejected. Like if you don't list anything here, it could get rejected. And so you either want to list the information about your spouse or you say, I'm not married. And then for this box, if you are married, if in the US, is your spouse to be included in the application? That is a complicated question that you might want to consult with an attorney. But essentially, you can only include spouses or children who are physically present in the United States, and you want to include them. You might not want to include them. It kind of just depends on the circumstances, and whether they're in removal proceedings, whether you're in removal proceedings, whether you want to take the risk of them being put in removal proceedings. So that is a complicated question, but you do have to answer that. And then how many children, you would put in the number and put in all the information about them. There's an addendum page with the children's information. And then this is the last page with biographical data. You're going to put your last address where you lived before coming to the United States, all of your residences for the last 5 years, all your education history, your employment history, your family information there. And then this page, which is page 5, this is where the substance of your claim comes in, okay? And here, these are over here, race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. Those are what are called the protected grounds. Those are ways in which you can get asylum. You can get asylum if you've been persecuted, harmed to a severe degree, death threats, things like that, because of, motivated by one of these reasons. And you kind of have to choose one or all or multiple, and you're not limited to one. And you're going to click on the ones that you think are relevant, okay? Could be all of them, it could be one of them. And so again, this is why this is important, because whatever you click on is what is going to be considered by the asylum officer or the court. Here, this first question is asking you about past treatment. Have you or your family members ever been harmed or mistreated in the past? Might be yes, it might be no. If you've been here for a long time as a student, and recently there's been a war, and now your ethnic group is being targeted in your home country, and your family is being harmed, you might say yes and talk about your family here, or you might say no because maybe no one's been harmed yet, but you are worried about it. Or maybe you yourself have fled because you've been harmed, and you put yes here. Now, everyone does asylum applications differently. Some attorneys will submit a full detailed statement as an addendum. I personally do not do that at this stage. I do absolutely submit a full detailed statement, but closer to the court date or the interview to ensure that there aren't credibility issues. So at this stage, what I do is I submit a summary. I write in a summary of what it is that happened, okay? Not every single detail, but a summary. And it's important that the summary is comprehensive. What I mean by that is that the summary actually explains most of the harm you faced. If you were jailed and you don't put that you were jailed, and later on you write an affidavit you were jailed, or you submit documents, there might be a credibility issue because you didn't mention it in your application. This one is about future harm. Why are you afraid? Okay. Do you fear harm or mistreatment? The answer is typically yes, because that's why you're applying for asylum. And you explain here, again, for me, I do a short paragraph. This is asking you if you or your family members have ever been accused, charged, interrogated, convicted, or anything in a country other than the United States. So if you've been falsely accused of a crime because your government is after you, or that's happened to your family, you would put that here. Have you ever been belonged to any groups or associations? Have you been part of the military? Were you part of a political group, a student, a human rights group? You put that here. Does your family continue to participate in any groups? Now, if the answer is no, then it's no, but you have to mark it. Otherwise, your form could get rejected. And then this one is very, very similar to the last question on page 5. Often I put the same exact summary at the bottom of page 5 as I do at the bottom of page 6, because this is asking about your fear of returning to your home country. Then it asks about your family here. This is asking about firm resettlement, this question, meaning, did you travel or reside in another country? Now, it's perfectly fine to have traveled to other countries, But what you don't, what may be an issue in your case in which you'd want to consult as an attorney is if you had permanent residence, not a visitor visa, not a work visa, but permanent residence in a third country. Okay. And so if that is the case for you, definitely consult with an attorney. But otherwise, if you just traveled or you lived temporarily somewhere with like a work visa, put it there, but it wouldn't be any, it wouldn't have any effect on your claim for asylum. And then this is, have you ever persecuted anyone? Like, have you ever caused anyone harm? Hopefully the answer there is no. Then here is, did you return to that country after you left? And the answer might be yes. Maybe I'm from a country, I lived there I was living there. That's where I'm from. I went to France to pursue a medical degree. I went back to that country. That's when I faced the persecution, the imprisonment, the rape, the harm. And then I fled to the United States. Yes, I did leave and I went to France, but then when I returned is when I faced the harm. And so you might want to explain that here. Are you filing this application more than 1 year after your arrival? So again, as I mentioned, you're supposed to file within 1 year of coming to the United States. So hopefully the answer is no, I'm filing within 1 year. It might be yes, and there might be an explanation. I've had a student visa for the last 5 years. Perfectly valid explanation. But if it's over a year, definitely consult with an attorney before answering this question. And then this is asking about crimes in the United States. And then this is where you print your name, you write your name in your native language, you fill out whether anyone has helped you with this form. And if an attorney has helped you, like my office, we would fill this out. Then there's this page, you do not complete. This is page 10. You do not complete this page when you're filling it out. This page will be completed either at the court hearing or at your asylum interview. And then this is an addendum page that you might need if you have more children. There's only an option to list 4 children. If you have 5, you would use this addendum page. And then this is just another addendum page if you have, additional, your work history couldn't fit, or your education history, or your siblings. You put this here. You need more addendums, just attach like a Word document and just clearly say which question you're answering, which page, which section number. And make sure everything is signed. So that is the application. Okay. Now, what do you have to submit with the application? Well, it kind of depends on where you're submitting the application. So you can submit the application affirmatively or defensively. Defensively is if you're in court proceedings and you're submitting it with an immigration judge because you have court. Affirmatively means you're submitting it with the asylum office because you are not in court proceedings. If you're submitting it affirmatively, then you can submit it 2 ways, one of 2 ways, online or by mail. You do not, in either scenario, you do not need to submit all of your supporting documents at the same time. You do not need to submit, for example, letters of support or a hospital record or a police report or things like that. You will eventually, closer to your interview date or your hearing date, you will need to submit all of those things. And I'm not saying you can't submit them now. You absolutely can, but you don't need to. You can supplement later. But what you need to submit, or what you should submit, especially if you're filing affirmatively, is some type of ID document to show who you are. And if you are including children or spouse, you need to show that relationship. You must submit like a marriage certificate or birth certificates. Anything that's in a foreign language must be translated with a certificate of translation. Now let me share my screen and show you how to file online, as well as filing where to file a paper copy of your application. So I'm sharing my screen and where I I'm going to show you how to file. First, let me show you how to file on paper. So we're back to this, where I showed you before, where to get the application. And in that same location on uscis.gov, you will see where to file. And at the bottom, it does show you where you actually can physically mail your application, depending on where you live. Okay, so that's mail. And if you want to file online, then you have to set up an account with myaccount.uscis.gov. So you're going to go to that website. So it's this website here. You're going to go to that. And then I'm already signed in because I have an account, but you can create an account. You just need an email address and you create a password. So you do that, and then as soon as you do that, you're going to log back in with that email address and password, and you're going to see this: welcome to your USCIS account. Okay, you're going to go to this to log into USCIS service. This is applying for an immigration benefit. Okay, so you're going to go there, and then it's going to. I've already kind of was playing around with this, so you'll see there that it's going to show you the different, like, you can go to file a form online, for example, under my account, and you can select, these are the forms that you're allowed to file online. You can select the 589, which is the application for asylum, and then it's going to give you some kind of warnings and just some other advice about submitting an asylum application. And it's gonna and then it's gonna let you actually file the application. Now here, again, as I was mentioning, I've already been kind of playing around with this and starting an application under my own profile, so it's not going to let me create a new one. But what will happen here is it'll let you actually complete the application online. You do have to, so here I'm gonna click continue because I've already started one. You do have to let them, one thing I will say is that you do have to, it's gonna ask if you want to share your location. You have to click yes, because it wants to make sure that you're in the United States, because you can only do this application if you're in the United States. And then it's going to go through all the questions, and you're just going to answer them as best you can. Click next. Is anyone helping you? I'm going to say no for now. Next. Is someone preparing this application? No. And then you're going to go through, and just the way, and it's going to ask you all the same questions that we just saw in the physical application, and then you're able to review and submit. The application is free. There is no filing fee to apply for asylum. And again, this is a very critical application, very important for your asylum case. So I would suggest you reach out to an attorney before completing it. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you next time.